Dying Light 2 was initially aiming for a spring 2020 release, but unfortunately due to some events that happened around the world, this delayed development. But here we are in 2021 and we're still talking about Dying Light without a release date. But despite not having a release date, we can still talk about the most exciting aspects about the game. So here is 5 different reasons to be hyped up for Dying Light 2. Before I do get into the video though, if you do want to see any more content from me, whether it be other YouTube channels or even a Twitch stream, links to everything can be found in the description down below. Getting back into the video, 5 reasons to be hyped for Dying Light 2. The first reason, Dying Light 2 map is 4 times bigger than the original. This was confirmed by Techland, and this is just absolutely insane considering no one really complained about the size of the original map. And this is very impressive, as there were actually 3 maps in Dying Light, between the slums, Old Town, and the map from 2015 following the expansion. Now we do still need the full map to be revealed. We have seen a few little elements here or there of the map, including trailers and gameplay trailers, but the full thing hasn't been confirmed as of yet. But as there is quite a lot of hardcore fans in the community, players have looked at the previous original Dying Light map and have actually estimated that the new Dying Light 2 map will actually take more than 2 hours to walk from one end to another. Now this is still just an estimation by players. We have actually got nothing really backing this, apart from if you do take the time to walk across the maps within Dying Light and work out that it's going to be 4 times the size of that. For a lot of players this will be very exciting, but for other players it always leads to them thinking about empty space. But we have been reassured by Techland that this will not be the case. Supposedly we can go to each of those places and find new people, new locations, new quests, with it offering a lot of replayability. It's also worth noting that this is an open world game that involves parkour, so verticality also plays a very big point in this. If there's a building in front of you, it's more or less likely that you can find a way on top of that building. In some cases you can probably go inside that building. So yes, the estimates are there that it will take over 2 hours to walk from one side to another, but it's likely that 99.9% of players won't be walking. Instead, you'll be running away from the infected and probably free roaming your way up different buildings inside them and just exploring the world. The massive map has been said to include a lot of different content in there, and we will also talk a bit more about this later. The next point to get hyped up for with Dying Light 2 is double the parkour moves. Dying Light 2 is definitely building off the original strong parkour gameplay. Aside from the typical running, wall running, jumping, sliding and climbing, Techland says it has doubled the parkour options this time around. This mix with the previous point means you have a huge variation in how you get around, going from point A to point B, with a point A being one side of the map to the other, or after completing one main mission and you're wanting to get to the next main mission. We've seen cool gameplay which includes players being able to dig a blade into a banner and use it to glide down to the street level. There's also some ropes and cables to swing from, whether it be from one building to the next or onto said banner. In the gameplay premiere trailer, we also see players jumping from the building onto the back of a moving truck, and this is just a taste of what we can do. With this being double the parkour, I'm putting an assumption out there saying that it's likely that Techland will show it off with specific missions where you need to chase someone or something, or you're being chased. It is very likely. They did this back with Dying Light, but now there's more of a interesting aspect to it with even more parkour moves. It can lead to some very interesting and exciting chases. In addition to all of this, parkour isn't just a way for you to travel across the Dying Light 2 world. You can also use parkour in combat. We do see this all the way through the different trailers and gameplay that has been shown, whether it be jumping off a side of the building whilst also taking infected down with you to break your fall, using parkour to jump onto vehicles to push NPCs off, or even using a grappling hook to swing and kick enemies. Double the parkour moves has led a lot of players thinking about getting from point A to point B, as we've already mentioned, but it can also be used to blend into other aspects of the game, such as combat. And now you can blend it however you want, whether or not you want to go from a parkour move to another parkour move, or whether or not you want to go from a parkour move to a combat move, and everything should blend in seamlessly. Moving on, everything that we've talked about so far is all well and good, but you need content to back it. And this is where I tell you about point number 3, because there is over 100 hours of content. It has been confirmed in interviews that the main story for Dying Light 2 is around 20 hours long. I do say around because it does depend on traveling between the missions and the choices you make whilst in those missions. Around 20 hours though is fair. and is actually very similar to the previous game. And I know when we talk about the main story for an open world game being 20 hours long, there will be many hardcore players out there that have played open world games that are much longer than this, maybe even 3 times longer than this. Looking at Assassin's Creed Valhalla, it is around 60 to 90 hours on normal difficulty, dependent if you listen to all the cutscenes and how you travel the world. But even with these massive, long 50-hour plus stories, many game companies have realized that a lot of players just don't have the time to complete the full story. We even saw this with CD Projekt Red and The Witcher 3. CD Projekt Red said that the game was just too long. You get situations where you can see a tremendous amount of people played through the game but never actually made it to the end. So a 20-hour story is a lot more manageable for players to complete. But if you are a player that's looking for more content, because despite there being a lot of players that weren't able to complete the 50+ hour stories, there's also a lot of players that could. Well, there's a lot of other content within Dying Light 2 that you can enjoy within free roam. You have 100 hours of side quests and other activities to do within the game. This also links back to what we were talking about earlier with the first reason. Dying Light 2 map is 4 times bigger, and the reason for this is because you do have a lot of content to go through. This is why Techland are confident that there won't be any empty spaces. You should be able to travel across the map and come across different quests, side activities, challenges, or even just find a unique building to parkour up or even explore. This also means if you are like me and you easily get distracted, you'll be traveling to a main mission, the main objective, and get pulled into a completely different direction as a side activity pops up as you're traversing across the map. All of this can only be a good thing. Moving on to the next point. Dying Light 2 will have narrative choices. We briefly mentioned it as we were talking about the 20-hour story, and how the time taken for the story completion depends on the choices you make. Narrative choices are within the game. As you start out, these choices will be very small, with very small impact, but as you progress, the choices you make will change the city around you, both physically and tonally once you ally with one of the several groups. We have seen a few choices already with the gameplay that has been shown, but it is supposed to go so much deeper than this. We've seen 2 major choices so far. The first one we see was the option to stay with a friend after they've been shot, or to go and chase down the person that shot them. We see this option in the 25-minute gameplay premiere. Obviously, we don't get to make this decision ourselves, this is set gameplay, and it shows us what happens if you chase down the person and the consequences later in the game. The big decision comes towards the end of the 25-minute gameplay. The mission involves a group of NPCs that have managed to gain control over a water source, putting an air of uncertainty over the future of the surrounding communities. You eventually break in, talk to the person in charge, and after some dialogue going back and forth, you're given the option to trust the person in control of the water source or to carry on with your mission to take everyone out and turn on the pumps. From both of these choices that were shown, it seems to focus on the negativity. It seems like a lose-lose situation. But what you need to do is pick the better of the two. This is a game that will contain some very tough decisions, but it's something players are excited for. No one likes to make easy decisions in games. It ends up just being boring. We also learned that some of the decisions that you can make within the game are reversible. This isn't a situation where you go back in time, replay the mission, and then just change your decision at the end. This is one of those things that you have to work with. For example, if you made a decision which someone else didn't agree with, and let's just say that they got very mad with you. You can't reverse the decisions that you made, but let's just say you realize you made a mistake. You can now go to that person that was originally mad at you, and you can do some extra missions for them. And by completing those extra missions and doing it the way that they want to do it, you can actually gain their trust again. But this feature is very rare. Not every single NPC will give you this option. But with just this brief description of some of the choices you can make within Dying Light, you can see how deep it goes. And this is why players are so excited for this. And it also blends in with our next point, and this is Dying Light 2 multiplayer. Multiplayer will be coming to Dying Light 2. It will have 4-player co-op, but because the sequel is so radically different from the original, it had to be changed so that one player hosts the game and the other 3 enter that player's game. The big innovation of Dying Light 2 is that your actions have consequences that affect the city. Because of this, it means your city will be widely different from your friend's city. So Techland doesn't want 4 players to join up, for them to all make the same choice, and then for everyone's city to be the exact same. It means that the choices that you make when playing multiplayer only affects the host. So once those 4 people people break up and start playing solo or even play with other friends, they can have a completely different city to everyone else. And this should also lead to some very interesting gameplay when you link up with your friends, because as you enter their world, you will see that they have something completely different to what you have, and this will just provide a different gameplay experience. Now this is all we've been told about the Dying Light 2 multiplayer. There still needs to be more information on this. We've had a brief description in which Techland still said that they're working on it. It would be nice for a gameplay example before release, maybe some more trailers, maybe some news articles. But as of right now, this is all we have. The very limited amount of info we have on multiplayer. But despite this limited information, players are still very excited for multiplayer to be part of Dying Light 2. As this now means that you can explore the massive world with the double parkour moves, with the huge variety in the different quests and the branching dialogue with your friends. But anyway guys, this is 5 separate reasons to be hyped up for Dying Light 2. If after watching this whole video you have a reason why you're excited for Dying Light which was not included in this video, then leave a comment in the comment section down below. If you do want to see any more content from me, there's links to absolutely everything in the description, whether it be other YouTube channels or the live Twitch stream. Links to everything can be found in the description. Anyway guys, I hope you guys did enjoy. If you did enjoy, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe. But for now, I'm going. So see ya.